Hey internets, it's Jake. This is Mini Terrain Domain MTD&D, and tonight we are going to be playing Fiasco on the Emerald Jaguar Express. This is D&D 5th edition set in Mike Lasham's Ironhead Chronicles, which is D&D in the 1920s with trains and guns. That's all you need to know. So, without further ado, we are going to get right into this adventure. The train station at Song's Reach in the northeasternmost portion of western Valos is bustling today, because today is the maiden voyage of the Emerald Jaguar Express, an elite locomotive and passenger train specifically bought and paid for, designed by, and exclusively for the noble elite of Valos. They've been working on this project for the last several years, but have kept it under wraps because it just wasn't right to reveal something of such luxury and of such opulence during the war. But the war is over, and the noble elite could barely wait to reveal not only the Emerald Jaguar, but this massive feat of engineering unlike anybody has ever seen. The Song Reach Bridge that extends the full expanse across the Singing Straits to the Hanging Isles. A train bridge over the ocean. As the four of you arrive in Song Reach at the train station, you see a platform with a gleaming emerald locomotive, glistening as if it were actually made out of emeralds. You've never seen paint like this. It is a metallic, shimmering green. The tender immediately behind it matches this green, as does every car that extends beyond the tender. And you see another 5 cars beyond the tender, sleepers and passenger cars and baggage car. Intricate scroll work in lighter shades of green all along the sides of these vehicles. And as the scroll work kind of rises and falls and dips and curls, you can see each car of this train, including the cab of the locomotive, features an inlay of what appears, even at this distance, to be jade, depicting jaguars in full sprint in the direction that the train is traveling. All along the platform, you see the noble elite, wealthy individuals of the excess of such that you have not seen, especially since you've been living in what many consider near poverty, serving on the front lines in the war. There are men and women and even a couple children, all of their valets and footmen. You can see dozens and dozens of people. And probably 3 times as many people are here to witness this maiden voyage of this vehicle. As the four of you are arriving, each of you has come by your own individual means, escorted here to this location. Specialist Sawyer, what is your first impression upon entering this platform and seeing these sights?
Evelyn has a sour look on her face that probably most others would be able to, or would have the no to keep it hidden. But she really can't cover it up. She just kind of looks in distaste of what she's been, by her own actions forced to do. And she kind of like mutters to herself, and she said, oh, look at them. Drown in all that money and wealth, and ugh.
And as the camera pans wide again, moving across the crowd, we see Corporal Alton Hem step into the undulating masses. Corporal, what's going through your head?
As Alton gets brought along by two escorts, two guards who had to make absolutely certain that he arrived on time. Alton steps onto the platform and kind of stops for a moment and surveys this ostentatious engine. He looks and he spits on the ground, and he nudges with his elbow one of the guards and says, "Look at that then. Somebody's put wheels on a fucking dragon's bugger. Well, come on then. Take me to my new fucking home." And I just start walking, and I just brush past both of the guards to myself and just start heading off, and both of them scrambling to try and keep up. My eye patch, or at least my ruined eye, just kind of itching a bit, and I kind of scratch it. I look back and I say, "Look at this. This is what I gave my eye for. This is what you gave your time for. What so many Ironheads gave their fucking lives for. Boy, I can't wait to get on."
And again, as you widen the gap between your escort and yourself, and kind of just surrounded in this sea of opulence, we pan over to another corporal, Dylan Fitzgerald. Corporal, you've just arrived on scene. What are you thinking?
Fitzgerald is not a man who has expensive tastes, nor does he really appreciate the kind of extravagance that's on display here. He's a man who prefers the wilds, and he kind of sticks to the outside of the platform, trying to stay as clear from the crowd as he can. And he makes his way towards the back of this train in the hopes that maybe he could find where there may be horses, if there are any of these rich folk who plan on taking any excursions wherever this train is headed towards.
And you begin to make your way along the length of the platform towards the rear of the train. And we pan over to the last member of this detail. Lieutenant Gallus Gray, you've just arrived to the platform. How do you assess this situation?
As Gallus is being escorted up to the final way, at the moment his sleeves are pulled up, kind of rolled up. And there's these markings that go down his arms, these tattoos of these strange symbols. As they get closer to the platform, he pulls his sleeves back down, covering his arms. He flips shut a book that he was reading. The outside is marked just like a normal novel, a book of poetry and short stories. But as he flips the pages closed, you can see strange runes and spells inscribed on the inside. And he shuts it as he gets closer to the crowd and tucks it into a pocket on his jacket. He looks out over the crowd. Just, this is the worst damn mission job I've ever had to be on. Babysitting these lunatics who don't know how to budget, spending money on this bullshit. Well, let's get this over with. First day of the last 6 months I ever have to deal with any of this.
Ironheads! Post! And all of you hear this. From off to the side of the platform where the ticketing booths and the inside waiting area is, you hear a very dominant voice calling again, Ironheads! Don't make me come rally you! And you see a large human male, easily 6.5 feet tall and seemingly twice as wide at the shoulders, standing with his arms crossed. He wears a cap with a glistening insignia of a regional commandant. While technically he is not active duty military, he represents the military as a sort of liaison between the armed forces and the noble elite. And you all know that Commandant Hall is whom you are to report to.
Well, I'm going for the train, just make a sudden beeline and just kind of walk over, not running. The guards are still behind me. Just head over, stand there. Don't say a word.
As Gallus approaches, he kind of begins adjusting some of the pins on his officer jacket, making sure his hat is straight, making sure that there's no wrinkles or crinkles, anything on him. Just kind of doing a quick once over and making sure that he's in presentable condition for the commandant. And as he kind of just briskly walks through the crowd, just kind of gently pushing people aside to make it over to where this commandant is at, he'll approach and then with a quick salute, will stand at attention.
He curtly returns your salute.
And I think Dylan, attempting to kind of skirt past this commandant and again kind of head for the back of the train, kind of looks up at the last minute and sees the commandant's eyes fall upon him, and he realizes that it's of no use. So he just kind of sighs heavily and kind of adjusts his backpack again, and then kind of cuts through the crowd in the path of least resistance to get to where this commandant is, and then just stands waiting.
Evelyn would kind of wander over, probably try to be in behind mostly with the other people and try not to meet the commandant's eyes like a kid who doesn't want to be called upon in class.
Well, y'all just took your own sweet time showing up here, didn't you? Look, I know the war's over and y'all'd rather be home, but just remember, you are here today because of the piss-poor choices you made relatively recently. I don't want to be here with you any more than you want to be here with me. Corporal Helm, you stand at attention when I'm speaking to you.
And Corporal Hamill just won't move to the chow, just stand there looking up at him, just with a 1,000-yard stare, the stare that many individuals have seen before being taken into the next life.
All of you, look around. You see all of these people here today. You know that they're the ones that you fought for. You know that they're the ones that your brothers and sisters in arms died to protect. And I know you're not happy about it. And truth be told, neither am I. This entire operation is a complete and utter waste of money. It's misappropriation of the highest degree. But guess what? There is nothing you or I can do about it. You have all made your choices. You all did the stupid crap you did to get you here today. And you've all gotten an extension of your service, and you've landed this lovely detail. And so, like good Ironheads, you're going to see it through to its end. Lieutenant Gray.
Sir.
A little disappointed to see an officer here today. But between you and I, and he kind of leans in so that, probably intending that only you could hear it, but with his voice, I imagine the rest of you could probably catch a little bit of it, as he just leans in kind of to your right ear and says, the prohibition's bullshit. And then he leans back and he just gives you a knowing nod. Lieutenant Gray, it looks like as the ranking member here, you're in charge of this rabble. You're going to need this. He hands you a dispatch notebook. Inside here is the complete manifest of every soul that you're responsible for. You have 30 souls that are going to be riding on the Emerald Jaguar, not counting the 4 of you. There are 14 members of the Noble Elite, all of their accompanying footmen and valets, and in the case of the 2 teenagers, their wet nurse, he says with a bit of disdain. The engineer and 2 coal shunts. That's your full complement. You can see here you've got the engine, you've got the tender, you've got a diner/leisure car, 3 sleepers, and a baggage at the end. The 4 of you are, let's face it, glorified babysitters. Now, I don't know what all you were told about the purpose of the Emerald Jaguar Express, but for all these folk, and he kind of lowers his voice a bit, trying not to be heard by anybody else, for all these folk that didn't have the guts to sign up themselves or volunteer their services in the war, this is their way at playing soldier, taking big, expensive firearms out to a distant island that they've built a freaking bridge and a train to get to so they can hunt exotic wildlife. Your job is to see that they get there and get back safely. Do you have any questions? Good. I didn't think so. I don't need to explain military decorum to any of you. Lieutenant Gray is in charge, and you will defer to his leadership for the duration of this detail. See that this trip goes good, because I guarantee you there's going to be several more just like it. Detail. Attention! Do you all snap to attention?
Yes, I do. Gallus will.
I just smile. I just laugh, like that inward laugh of bureaucracy at its finest, and I just turn around and just walk off, shouting to someone, "Where's my gun?"
Fitzgerald does snap to attention, but it's almost more reflex at this point. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. And he stays at attention for what he feels is the requisite period of time, and then drops it.
Evelyn would kind of half-heartedly do a salute, not making eye contact, but then, she would kind of mutter. She's like, "Are you sure that maybe one of them can't get impaled by some boar or something? Maybe add a little bit of entertainment?"
Commandant Hall does not make any further comments to the rest of you. He doesn't acknowledge Corporal Hem's clear insubordination, nor does he acknowledge what Specialist Sawyer has said. He simply looks at Lieutenant Gray, gives you a curt salute, and says, "They're all yours now, Lieutenant. Get everybody on the train."
Gallus will return the salute in kind back to the Commandant. Yes, sir. And then immediately after Gallus turns away from the Commandant, his military stoic visage just immediately just collapses into a furrowed brow of anger and dismay. "All right, everybody on the train. Let's get moving."
And as you all begin moving toward the train, you see a tall, skinny-looking guy wearing an ill-fitting conductor's hat kind of step out of the front car. He's filthy. It's clearly one of the coal shunts. And he shouts, "All aboard! Aboard!" And you hear the whistle kind of give a couple toots from the front of the train. And on this signal, everybody that's been milling around rapidly begins to say their goodbyes and move to embark on the train.
I think when the whistle sounds, Corporal Fitzgerald actually jumps visibly. He starts for just a second and then kind of realizes that You know, it's just the train that's making the noise, and he quickly drops it.
Alton will just start walking, getting uncuffed by the guards. You know, just rubbing his wrists, grabbing his weapon off him, grabbing a revolver and the long sword that he has. It's an old long sword. Looking at the stuff, grabbing the rest of his kit. He kind of goes to one of the guards and gives him kind of a light tap on the cheek. You did good. Maybe one day you'll be a real soldier. And walks up onto the train towards the front in the dining car.
Evelyn would kind of not run, but quick walk to where where we would sleep on this car, so that she can get first dibs on the bunk, because she would hate to sleep on the top and be at risk of falling off.
Ironheads. Excuse me, Ironheads. Hello. Yes, hello. Excuse me.
Dylan will turn around to see what the commotion's about.
A sort of smallish, about 5'5", dark-skinned gentleman wearing brightly colored robes and a headdress that's not, I don't want to call it a turban, but it's stylized similar to a turban, but it's wider and has decorative elements that kind of hang down. You're the Ironheads, yes. You are a military escort on this excursion, yes?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And he grabs your hand and he says, I am Atumi Wanaka. It is such a delight to make your acquaintance. I am to be your liaison and a sort of tour guide, if you will. It is I and my company who have arranged all of this. It is quite a locomotive, no?
It sure is a piece of work, sir. That's for sure. I don't know how it might compare to other trains. This is the first of them I've ever seen, so you'll have to excuse my ignorance. But it's mighty fine of you to come and introduce yourself like this. I appreciate it.
Are you the one who is in charge of the Ironheads?
Gods, no. Thank the heavens for that. No, you want that stuffy looking gentleman right there. He's going to kind of indicate Gallus.
Yes. And what is his name?
I think it was Gray. I think that's who you're looking for. I think that's his name.
Excellent. Don't go too far.
Sure
Ironhead Gray. Atumi Wanaka, pleased to meet you. And he kind of bustles over to you.
And Gallus will kind of stifle the expression on his face as this person walks over to him. Just this like, oh no. He wipes it off as soon as he turns towards him. Just, yes. A pleasure to meet you, sir.
I understand you are in charge of the military escort on our train.
Yes, that's correct. Lieutenant Gray, at your service.
Lieutenant Gray, yes, it is most delightful to meet you. Did the Commandant explain to you the... and he almost seems a bit uncomfortable at saying this, and he's in his small stature looking up at you. did he explain to you your quartering arrangements?
As a matter of fact, he didn't. Why don't you show me and my troop here where we'll be staying?
Yes, I was afraid that perhaps you were making yourself. And as he kind of walks by, I imagine Corporal Ham, who had moved to the kind of front car there, already kind of kicking up on a chair, maybe making himself comfortable. I fear you may be getting a bit too familiar in an area where you are to be on duty. Please, if you will all come with me, I will show you where you will be staying for when you are not actively on duty. And he quickly gestures and begins leading you through the train cars, through the dining car, through the first sleeper car, across through the second sleeper car, through the third sleeper car, to the last car, which is the baggage and caboose. And he says, this would be your accommodations, the baggage car. But the back half of it is been made up to be quite comfortable. You will find hammocks that will counteract the swaying of the train, with ample storage for your own personal gear. Please note on your manifest that all of this, and he indicates there's cases and just all kinds of gear, crates, cases, footlockers, steamer trunks, neatly stacked all along the sides of this car. Every piece of equipment has been cataloged and accounted for, if you catch my meaning, sir. The expectation is that during the travels, at least 2 of your Ironheads will be patrolling the length of the train front to back, assuring that everybody is kept safe. Once we arrive on the Grand Isle of the Hanging Isles, we will arrive at the encampment, what was the bridge workers and track layers encampment originally, has been converted to a luxurious resort for our noble elite. Once we are there, you will be quartered in a garrison that you should be familiar to, you. And we will expect you to each accompany the noble elite on their various expeditions. But more about that when we arrive. We have at least 3 days of journey before we arrive to the first island. Please make yourself comfortable. The train will be underway momentarily, and please, once the train is in motion, post 2 of your Ironheads. Now, if you excuse me, I have many people to see to. And he quickly bows and leaves you, the 4 of you, in this baggage car.
Gotta be fucking kidding me. I knew it was gonna be bad, but...
Well, just think. Accidents happen while hunting. Rich twats get shot just as well as poor ones. Be right unfortunate if something would happen to him, eh? Sir? Huh? And I'm saying this as I'm holding like a drink from a crystal decant, like a crystal glass that I had already like grabbed and like was going back to the back. Go on then. And I handed to the officer. I've already had some, but if you want to win points here with the rest of us lowly soldiers, sir, I want to share that. You're all welcome, by the way.
How gracious of you. Like takes a small and just passes it along to the next person. Gonna need it with this crowd.
Dylan kind of is next in line, but he takes the glass for just a moment, and then he turns and looks at the other corporal standing next to him. You gonna drink any of this? He's talking to Sawyer.
Sorry.
Sawyer's a
I'm
specialist.
specialist.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She would longingly, and if anyone notices, her hands would kind of clench and unclench, and she looks like she's just about to grab it. She's, oh no, not the best stuff happens when I touch that stuff. So, and then she would go kind of pick a hammock and just lay down on it, and she says, well, I mean, I'm sure we've all slept in worse. I had to sleep for a week in a tree once, so I guess this isn't...
Well, that's the truth. And he's gonna drink a sizable swig out of the glass, and then hand it back to him.
Hem kind of looks to see if there's like just any remnants left, noticing that there's probably none. Just casually walks over to the door that leads to the baggage that leads eventually to the caboose. Just opens it up and throws it out the door. Shuts it again. Right, well, sir. I guess we're at your orders. What would you have of us?
Enough of that. Come on, look, I don't want to be here any more than you do. You being an asshole doesn't make it any more fun for anybody else. Probably not for you either.
I don't know. It makes it a bit fun for me. I mean, just a bit. But I understand. No, you're right. I don't want to be here because actually, wait a minute. Do us a favor. You've got the manifest list, yeah?
Yes, what about it?
Do us a favor and have a look at all the rich bastards that are up there looking for a name.
All right, what name?
Count Regius. Is he in there?
I'm going to start flipping through the pages, just like reading off the names.
So you see in this dispatch book, which is like a leather-bound travel journal that contains several sheaves of paper that have been meticulously penned, listing off all of the trade cars, all of the quarter assignments, the manifest of all of the equipment in the baggage car. You see the military escort lists all of your names and ranks. And then you see the complete list of nobles. What you notice, though, is that the nobles that have their footmen, their valets, and other servants with them do not have names for them. They only have +1, +2, +3. And going down the list, these are the names you see. And I can repeat any names if you need. But you see the name of the engineer, Bartholomew Higgins, the two Cole Shunts, Rickard Skellington and Jackaboy, Professor Damien Van Hoosel, +2, the Lady Winter Halstead, +1, Atumi Wanaka, +0, Baron Halston Reed, +3, Camden and Dominic Reed. In parentheses next to each of their names, it says child, 13. Variella Soothshaw, +2. The Lord and Lady Warden, +2. Sir Benedictus Raphael Hermaeus Morton Carpathius III, +0. And you see Duke Aaron Regius, +1.
What was that name again?
Duke Aaron Regius.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's in character
Oh, sorry.
to him.
Count Regius. Is he in there?
Nope, no Count Regis or whatever it was.
Huh. Right then. Good. Good. So, listening to our host, says we're supposed to do some patrols then. You're the ranking officer here. So, what would you like to do, sir?
You all feel a lurch as the car shifts beneath your feet with a subtle jerking motion. You hear the 3 long peals from the whistle at the front of the train. And then you feel another jerk. And you can feel from back here, you can feel more so than you can hear the and with each of those, there's a little bit of a jerk until the motion picks up a little bit. And the motion becomes absorbed between the cars as and you can hear from outside the cheering of all of the onlookers as the Emerald Jaguar Express has begun its maiden voyage.
All right, guys, here's the thing. While we're back here alone, do whatever you want, say whatever you want. I don't give a shit. If you're out there, kind of like pointing towards the train, at least try to pretend that you care a little bit.
Why are you looking at me when you say that? I can be very respectable.
Can't wait to see.
Can't wait to show you. And kind of through like a broken half smile with this massive scar, like just running down underneath this like large bandana. Just kind of turn and kind of go find a hammock to kind of drop my kit.
Well, if you're so eager to show me, how about we take the first patrol together? It'd be nice to see you in action.
All right, then. I can show you that I can walk with the best of them. I mean, that's what it is, isn't it? Just walking around, looking at a bunch of folk, hoping that they don't die or something.
Something
Well,
like that.
Why are you even here? I mean, what, you just draw a short straw? Are you just the junior officer? Or are you like us? Did you get in a bit of trouble, sir?
I said some things that aren't a generally accepted opinion around these parts. People didn't like it.
Just tell a higher officer to piss off. Because I've done that quite a lot. And, you know, I tell you, it's quite a catharsis.
I'm sure it is. And he pulls up his right sleeve just up to about his elbow. You can see up his forearm are these like tattoos of all these like strange runes and symbols.
Yeah. I understand, sir. It's all right. If it weren't for people like you, none of us would have ever gotten off of that continent. We'd all be dead. So,
Sawyer would
cheers
pipe
for
up.
that.
She says, "Oh, sorry." Sawyer would pipe up, and she would be like, "I'm sure we would have done just fine to have those out."
I think as Gallus and Alton kind of turn to leave the car for first patrol, I think there's like an uncomfortable silence for a moment as we see like just Dylan and Evelyn kind of left in the car, you know, and he kind of rocks back and forth with the train for a moment. Then, kind of obvious at a loss for words, he says, "You play cards?"
Yeah. What do you play?
Good. Honestly, I don't care. Just something to pass the time. That's all I care about.
Yeah,
He kind of
you're
reaches
kidding.
into his pack and starts to dig out a pack of cards.
And as you two begin playing cards, we'll cut to Gray and Hem moving through the train. And you make your way through the back through the sleeper cars. There's mostly bustling of activity from footmen and valets, making sure all the rooms are, all the various cabins are tidied up. But none of the nobles seem to be in any of these cars. As you enter the third car, as you're walking through the door, I need Gray and Hem make a dexterity save. Hem, you kind of your military sixth sense just kicks in as two smallish forms come barreling towards you, and you manage to kind of you don't get bowled over by them. You can tell me what you do as one of these forms crashes into Lieutenant Gray as two twin 13-year-old boys seem to come out of nowhere from one of the rooms and smash into Gray. And how do you dodge it? How do you react to these twins, Corporal?
Pull out my revolver and I shoot them both. No, I'm just kidding.
Game over.
Game over. Well, kids, it's been fun. I just walking. You know, my mind is always going, and just thinking back to times in the trenches, sneaking through badlands and over and under rotting corpses of demons and everything else to get to my objective, and missing out on booby traps and other things like that, even like sigils. I'm always very like always tense. And then as soon as I kind of see it, I'm leading ahead of Lieutenant Gray, and as soon as I don't even pay attention because I'm looking back at him, I hear and all of a sudden I just have enough time to kind of move to the to one side, kind of like in shock, and I almost raise my weapon up until I realize it's two deviant people larvae that end up crashing into Lieutenant Gray.
Gray, what happens when you get barreled into by these two teenage boys?
Yeah, so I imagine like as they're moving from cart to cart, especially as they're getting closer to where more and more people are going to be, like he's like adjusting his sleeves and like checking his pockets to make sure none of the stuff that he had just shown his party members is revealed to any of the nobles. And he's like watching Hem specifically, like seeing how he's reacting and how he's walking and how he's looking at all these different people. And like he's just totally so focused on that he just isn't even paying attention to what's actually going around. And these two kids just like barrel into him. And I imagine it kind of like knocks him backwards, like he stumbles back a few times and like kind of hits one of the side walls of the train maybe, or like some carrier thing that's there.
And as they careen into you, these two blonde boys, oh, sorry, sir. Excuse us. And they quickly, without so much as an additional word, just skirt around you and tear off into the next car. And as you continue towards the front of the car, the front of the train, you find yourself in the longest of the cars, which is the dining and entertainment car. As you open it up, there are on either side, kind of staggered, there's small tables along the windows. At the midsection of the car is a bar, and at the far side are some slightly longer tables. And all of the noble elite are milling around in this area. As the door opens and you enter, there's a brief pause as some of them look toward you, and they immediately just go back to their conversations. From outside the windows, from outside of the train, or rather looking outside the train, you can see that the train has already begun traversing the Songs Reach Bridge, and that you are on either side of the train. All you can see is the straits, what's known as the Singing Straits, the open ocean. You can see to either side the coastline of Valos receding behind the train. As you make your way through the car, you can pick up bits and pieces of conversation. Most of it is just idle chatter. It almost seems like a noble version of some kind of pissing contest. People talking about how much they invested and how much certain stocks and exchanges are happening, and certain types of metals that are up and metals that are down, and the burgeoning or rather the effects of the prohibition. Gray, maybe your ears kind of perk up a little bit at mention of the magical prohibition. And as you pass by one particular table where a human man and woman, the woman has red hair pulled up into a loose ponytail, and she wears pants and a shirt that matches what is obviously her husband, who also wears these same khaki pants and shirt. They look like your stereotypical explorers, like they're going on safari in these khakis. But they don't look like they're expensive just for show, like Eddie Bauer type clothes. They look very functional, and they actually look a little bit rugged. And as you pass by, the two of you can see them kind of give you a once over, their eyes lingering on your weapons. And you hear the man lean over to the woman and say, I don't even know what the point is of having these guys here with their little pea shooters. Hell, just in my one case, I've got more firepower than the four of them all put together. Whatever they feel they need to do, the government's got to have their involvement in everything we do anyway. Hem, make a perception check. As this conversation is kind of filtering as you walk past, it's kind of fading a little bit. At the bar, you see one individual by himself. He has one of these crystal tumblers in front of him with an amber liquid in it. And he has a book open in front of him on the bar that he is obviously pretending to read, as you catch in the mirror behind the bar his eyes watching you. And there's something familiar in those eyes. There's something vaguely familiar in that face. Something that reminds you of why you're here in the first place.
And roll initiative. No. I'll look back at Lieutenant Gray to see if he's paying attention to me or if he's paying attention to the nobles who you're doing a very good job of like making us not want to help them. Because I mean, I don't want to help them already, but so I'll look first to Lieutenant Gray to see if he's got his eye on me or not.
I imagine it's pretty clear at looking at him that like it's not that he's like looking at other people, like he's just like completely in a different universe. Like this is such like a non thing for him that he's just basically paying no attention.
Okay. I will begin to walk towards this individual, but in such a way as it looks like I'm just making my patrol, and but I'm like kind of like veering off, like in that drunken way, like almost slightly veering off right until I'm pretty much right in front of him.
And as you begin to close that distance, he gives up any pretense of pretending to be reading his book, as he seems to be aware that you are maneuvering toward him. He stands as you get close to him, and this close you can now see the distinct features of members of the Regius family. What's your gut instinct when you see this man?
It feels like I've been punched in it. I look back and all I can see is not this individual, but the young lord that I had to babysit in order to get just another accolade or another medal, another war story to bring home to like joke around with his friends while they're all sitting around a massive sitting room drinking port and smoking cigars. And I can just see the look on his face, and everything about it takes me back to this young man, his ankle twisted and swollen, laying on the ground, being beset upon by 3 displacer beasts, just being torn apart, screaming, and me just running away, walking away from this creature, this sad individual who basically killed himself through his own sheer stupidity. So there's nothing but like just a thick spreading of disdain as I just walk up to him, look him straight in the eye, and I say, in your lord's training, Lord, they never teach you that staring is not exactly polite.
And it is obvious in your military training you are not taught the proper way to address your superiors. But I digress. It is evident to me that you see some familiarity in my countenance. And I must be forthright with you in saying that I had hoped to encounter you on this expedition. In fact, it is the only reason I am here. Count Regius is my brother. Lord Anders was my nephew. And he had absolutely no business whatsoever being assigned to your outfit.
That takes me back. That takes me back. That takes me back to the time where I was about to punch him out. No, that takes me aback. I just I was ready, tense and ready to throw down, and probably throw him off the train. But I just kind of stopped and what? What, you serious?
He gives a gesture to the bartender, holds up 2 fingers, taps the bar, and almost as quickly, 2 more crystal tumblers are set on the bar and filled with this amber liquor. And he picks up one of them and hands it to you, and he hands the other one over to Lieutenant Gray. I know that you are technically on duty, but please do not refuse a drink with me. We are going to be spending much time together in the coming days. I sought you out because, while it is true that if it were my brother here, it is unlikely that either of you would leave the train unscathed. I wanted you to know that not all of us bear that irresponsibility that you may associate with my brother or my nephew. And not all of us shirk our duties. And he pulls his collar aside to reveal, just above his collarbone, there is a scar of the kind you recognize immediately. Is a pucker of a bullet wound. And tattooed around it is a unit insignia for a forward covert operations division in the Ironheads, known for their legendary excursions. And he just says, some of us have paid our dues. And then he raises his glass to the two of you, and he says, let us drink to the Ironheads. Let us drink for those who could not be here to drink with us. And let us drink for all of our fallen brothers and sisters, and let us drink for those that have made it home.
And I'll raise my glass and then tap it on the bar top, and then finish it off.
And he quickly drains his. How about you, Gray?
Gray will lift the glass. Your prior station does you credit, sir. It seems not all on this train do not deserve their wealth. One such as you is an honor to have someone who has served and knows the struggle. He'll raise the glass as well and take a sip.
So, over the next couple of days, I'll say this since I put it in the chat. I could be perfectly happy role playing this in real time. This entire train event. This is awesome.
A campaign over 9 sessions.
24 the campaign. But we're going to move forward a couple days. During this time, you rotate in and out of duty. You get to know, at least casually, you get to know who the various individuals are. Sir Benedictus Raphael Hermaeus Morton Carpathius III is a very boisterous dwarf who likes to drink a lot. But he doesn't drink ale. He likes to drink some clear alcohol mixed with milk. The man and the woman that were making snide remarks about your firepower you quickly learn are the Lord and Lady Warden. The term survivalist has been used with them. Baron Helston Reed is the father to the teenage boys Camden and Dominic. He is a big game hunter of much renown. The Lady Winter Halstead is by the way, the Baron Halston Reed and his twins are actually all half-elf. The Lady Winter Halstead is a very quiet and distant halfling Her hair is graying at the temples. She is often seen gazing out the windows by herself. You quickly learn that unless you want to be waylaid for 45 minutes or more, to steer clear of Professor Dominic Van Hoezel, the human academian. And I imagine most times you pass through the car that the Duke Regius will almost without fail offer you a drink. Any of you. As we move ahead to the third day, looking at the wrong list. Specialist Sawyer and Corporal Fitzgerald are on duty. Sawyer, is there anybody in particular that maybe amongst these noble elite that you've taken a liking to or a particular disdain to, or are you just indifferent to them all?
I think that with the survivalists, she would kind of maybe scoff a bit when she hears them talking and just kind of like chuckles to herself. And I think she would probably make it her goal just to, listen as unobtrusively as possible, just to kind of provide herself with some humor, with, kind of laughing at what these people think passes for, survival. And I'm sure there's a bunch of, well, I read this in a book. And so she would just kind of laugh at that. So that would be her favorite pastime, I think.
And what about you, Fitzgerald?
I think Dylan would probably have had at least a little bit of a connection with the halfling woman. And they probably don't talk a whole lot because Dylan's a fairly laconic individual himself. I think when time permits, he kind of just sits and stares out the window with her at long stretches of time before he has to get back up and finish out his patrol rounds.
And not once in all this time does she engage you in conversation, though you're fairly certain that at least once or twice when you sat down, she, after the second or third time, she just gave a slight turn and then quickly looked away. It's about late afternoon on the third day. You have gotten assurances from Engineer Higgins and Atume Wanaka, who feels it his duty at least thrice a day to let you know how much time is left before you will arrive at the Grand Isle. You've been assured that within the next couple of hours, you should be arriving on land once again. Looking forward out of the windows of the cars, you can only see a little bit of mist to the north and no sign of land at this point. All of you here suddenly from where you are, where would Hem and Gray be while the other two are on patrol at 3 p.m?
in the bar, drunk. No, I'd be laying in my hammock, and just kind of staring up and just watching, like, as the hammock is swaying gently, just staring up at the rivets of the top of the train car, just moving as I'm moving, and just in a hypnotic pattern until I fall asleep.
And while Hem is trying to sleep, you would just hear just goo, 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 goo of footsteps as Gray just paces up and down the cabin, like all 6 feet of it, just over and over and over again.
You hear gunshots. High caliber gunshots. They seem to be coming from outside the train.
I get up. I get up quickly, grab my weapon. Right, come on, Walkie, let's go. And I'll just grab Gray and start pushing him towards the door.
Yeah, and Gray's revolver is like already in hand. And he's like moving out the door as fast as possible. Just, what the hell is going on out there?
I don't know. We could sit here and speculate, or we could go out there and have a look ourselves. Come on.
Coming.
Hem, or no, not Hem. Sawyer and Fitzgerald, you're in the dining car. The sound is coming from outside, and it sounds a little more muffled as you hear a few more. Both of you give me perception checks. Okay, so your military training kind of kicks in, and as I said, it's already been almost 3 full days you've been with all these people, and you start to get a sense of when people do what. And you know it's this time of day, much to their chagrin. Baron Reed and the twins are usually absent as he requires them to take an afternoon rest. So it's not unusual that they are not in the dining car. Normally everybody else is in here. Atume Wanaka is often wandering, spends a lot of time up front with the engineer. He's not here. But you do notice that the Lord and Lady Warden, the survivalists, are not in this car. And that seems a bit unusual. As you hear from outside. And you kind of getting your bearings, Sawyer and Fitzgerald, you can tell this sound is coming from further back along the train. Gray and Hem, the sound is much closer to you and seems to be coming from just forward of where you are.
I'm going to move in front, and I'm going to start going slowly toward where I can listen to where the sound is. Is it coming from a sleeper car? Is it coming from like inside a suite or room?
It sounds to be coming from the car, the sleeper car nearest you, And now you can kind of pinpoint that it seems like it's coming from above.
Okay, I'm gonna look at Lieutenant Gray, kind of look at him, kind of signal to him, and kind of point upward. Is there a ladder or some other type of thing that has roof access?
Yeah, absolutely. In between, that in between each car, when you pass between the cars, that there are ladders that lead up to the top. What are Sawyer and Fitzgerald doing?
I think Sawyer would turn to Fitzgerald and because I think she would notice that the survivalists are gone because her daily entertainment is gone. So she would look at Fitzgerald and say, I'll give you 3 guesses what that is, and the first 2 don't count.
He kind of looks around. He says, yeah, you mean your friends with the big guns. Yeah, and that would make sense. I guess we better go check it out.
Yeah, as much as it pains me.
Hell, at least it's something to do.
And she would nod. She'd like, yeah, that's true.
So, are you two going to make your way through the train cars looking for the source of the sound? As soon as you guys would know it's coming from outside and slightly above as well, though further away.
Yeah, he's going to make his way through the train cars at this point, I think.
All right. So, what about you, Sawyer? You gonna follow?
Yes, she would follow, I think, behind until she realized maybe where it was coming from. And as soon as she realized that, the next car she went in, she would climb up.
Okay, so you get through the first car. There's 2 more cars, but that's where you want to go up because you would know for sure at that point it's coming from above. Okay. All right. Gray.
So I imagine so in between the cars, is there only one ladder going up one side, or are there ladders going up each side of the car?
Each car, as you look at the door that goes into the car, the ladder is on the left-hand side. But so if you're between the baggage car and the first sleeper from the rear of the train, there would be the ladder on the left-hand side of the rear of the sleeper car and the ladder on the left-hand side on the front of the baggage car. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. So I'm going to grab I've got my Tommy in my hand. I'm actually going to sling my Tommy. I'm going to pull out my revolver. I'm going to look at Lieutenant Gray and point to the ladder on the baggage car. And I'm going to point to myself, and I'm going to point. And I realize now that, like, oh yeah, we're outside. It's a loud train going by. Idiot. All right, sir. You go up there. I'll go up here. We'll point our guns at them. We'll see what the hell's going on up there. Yeah.
You should remember who's in charge here.
All right, then. Did you want to say exactly what we were about to do just now? You go right ahead, sir.
How about you go up that ladder? He points to like the exact same ladder that you had already pointed to. I'll go up this ladder. Go. And like, I'll just turn.
I'll just shake my head and smile, and I'll just start like climbing up, doing exactly what we just said we were going to do.
Jeff, I don't know if you have any military background, but you have no idea how well you're capturing an LT.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes. It's like on point. It's no pun intended, just on point.
So the two of you go up your ladders, and as you peer over the edge, you can see about midway along on the sleeper car, you can see the Lady and Lord Warden. Lady Warden's ponytail flapping behind her in the wind of the train. And both of them are holding rifles. The Lord Warden is holding a high-powered sniper rifle, and the Lady Warden is holding a large caliber I just lost the name of it. Like a bar, like a Browning automatic rifle. It's a large caliber automatic rifle, but so you keep hearing these from the sniper rifle, and then rapid succession shots from Lady Warden. And they seem to be shooting in the direction of the island, where you can see about a half a dozen larger shapes swooping in and out of the mist. And as you kind of watch as Lord Warden levels his sniper, he seems to lead one of the forms, following its arcs and curves, and then and you see one of the forms jolt and begin to spiral downward, where you can see about a half a mile away a splash in the water. And he turns and he goes, "Got another one!" And that's about the time that a full car and a half length away that Sawyer and Hem would be able to peer up and kind of catch the tail end of that scene.
So I think Sawyer would, she kind of nod her head. This is exactly what she kind of thought that was happening. So she would kind of want to like skirt, like behind, not behind, but like kind of out of their view, to see if she can kind of, just come up on them without them really noticing.
The only way to do that, since you're now on top of the train or peering over, would be to drop back down and go through the train cars. Unless you were going to try to skirt along the outside of the train car, like doot, 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 doot.
Yeah, no, maybe not. But
which you're perfectly welcome to try. For the record, over the ocean, the train is only moving at about I don't even know what the kilometers is. I'm just going to say 30 miles an hour.
Okay.
Because of the winds whipping across the straits.
Okay. So where are they facing? Are they like just facing like perpendicular to me?
So they're facing toward the front of the train. So they're actually facing toward you, but they're shooting upward.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, then in that case, she would just jump up and just kind of wave at them. Like, hey, and then just like, can you like just lower your guns for a second?
And Gray and Hem, you would see as Sawyer kind of rises up and gets their attention. And the Lady Warden says, We just couldn't wait to get to the island. Look, griffins. Doosh, 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 doosh. She takes 4 quick shots. And you see one of the figures, one of the creatures, kind of take a weird turn. And it dips. And then kind of starts to falter a bit. She just curses. Ah, just winged him.
She would just kind of shake her head and go towards them. And she said, well, if you shoot them all now, there won't be any left for you to shoot on the island. Once you actually get there.
At this point, you all hear, because this thing rolled a 1 on its stealth, you hear a careening from the side, from the right side of the train. You just hear this as a giant creature. I just pulled my headphones out. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, I just pulled. I'm gonna quit grabbing my mic. I just pulled my headphone out. This creature careens toward the train and slams into the car that you are on. And I need all of you, including the wardens, to make dexterity saving throws.
Would it be possible for me to try and kind of like instinctively like just try and like land, like kind of dive on top of them or into them, kind of making sure they're pinned and don't fall, or at least one of them?
Absolutely, because you notice that while the Lord Warden jams the butt of his sniper rifle down and just stands, he's on a knee, he just reflexively drops it down and like just locks his position in. The Lady Warden lurches against, like she tried to correct in the wrong way, and you see her lose her footing. So yeah, you absolutely can, with that dex save, you absolutely can lunge toward her.
Yeah, I think just purely instinctually, she would do that. And just kind of bring her down, just so that she kind of has more surface area on the roof of the train.
And as you lunge toward her, yeah, you do that. You like manage to kind of fall into her and pin her down. I'm just checking the rest of your guys' decks. So, Lieutenant Gray, you watch as Corporal Hem, when whatever this was that smashed into the side of this thing, you watch as he loses his grip on the ladder. I need you. Well, actually, it's up to you, Gray. What would you do?
Would I be able to tell in the heat of the moment, like, is he gonna fall off of the train if he falls, or is he gonna just land in between cars? If I can tell.
All you know is he's just lost his grip. He was only holding on with one hand because he had his pistol in his other hand.
Oh God. I'm just gonna do it. Instinctively. Gray reaches out a hand towards Hem. Just says, "Stop!" And as he does, Gray would feel his not Gray. Hem would feel his descent slowed as I cast Featherfall.
Corporal Hem, you lose your grip on the ladder and you begin to fall down to what would be probably bouncing off of the small deck between the two train cars. And you just almost know you're probably going to land either between the cars or bounce off onto over the edge of the bridge into the ocean. And you seem to be falling in slow motion and land softly on the deck. How do you react to that?
Well, probably crap my pants. I stop and I just kind of look around and I still have my pistol out. And I'm just, checking myself over and looking around. And I look up to Lieutenant Gray and kind of smile a bit and just kind of like nod my head. I'm going to holster my pistol and I'm going to go back and start climbing up the ladder.
And Gray's face at this point is just like stone with fear. Like he's just like, he doesn't say anything or do anything. He's like just frozen in place, like his hand still extended towards where Hem was on the ladder, as he just kind of internally is like, oh shit, what did I just do? Like in front of like all these people.
And Corporal Fitz, were you on the ladder or were you up on the roof?
No, as I had stated, I was going to head through the cars.
Okay, so you were going through the cars. Okay.
Right.
So you're in the car that gets hit. And you get knocked sideways into you're on the side of the car that has the hallway. And you get knocked into the side and your arm goes through the window. You take 3 points of slashing damage as your arm goes through and you get lacerated. At the same moment, the doors across the hall from where this car was hit, from the living quarters, the sleeping quarters there, kind of fly open. And you can see this almost this distorted human face with just seemingly endless rows of sharp teeth and gnarled yellow eyes mashed against the side. I mean, it's big, mashed into the now broken window of this car as it suddenly pushes off away with a flare of wings. And you can give me a nature check to see if you know what this creature is.
I got a 12.
Well, I'll let you tell me if you've ever encountered these before, but you know that this creature is a manticore.
I don't think Fitzgerald has ever encountered one, but he met someone who had survived a manticore attack. And the guy was pretty shaken up about it. So he's kind of heard some firsthand account of what one of these things can do.
And from the other side of rather from above, those of you outside, you hear another cry of as another form creates a shadow arcing across all of you on top. And on the sleeper car at the head of where you all are, actually, okay, because you were there. Yeah. So on the sleeper car ahead of you guys, another manticore lands on top of the car with a crash, the whole thing jolting side to side. And I need you all to roll for initiative. All right. Do I have everybody? Yes. So, excuse me. It's going to be first in the order is going to be Fitz. Second is going to be the Manticore. Third is going to be Sawyer. Then Hem and Gray will be up last. So you're inside Fitz. You can still see from your vantage point that the one Manticore has kind of billowed its wings, flared its wings, and is about 20 feet outside the car. And it seems to almost be, even though it moved backwards away from it, it still seems to be holding the inertia of the train. So it's still level with the car.
From what I know of these creatures, is there any possibility of, well, reasoning is a strong word, but I have the ability to speak with animals should I have to call upon my abilities as a ranger. Do I think that there's any point? Are these creatures just bloodthirsty?
You would know that these are vicious hunters.
Okay.
That even with an ability to speak to animals, they are savages that would not even probably comprehend what you had to say.
So I think he kind of looks down to the laceration on his arm and decides that he needs to do something about it, but there's just more pressing issues at hand. So he's going to stride through the sleeper car where the door just flew open and take the butt of his Tommy gun that he kind of slings off of his shoulder and just busts out the glass. And then he kind of looks out, finds the creature, levels his Tommy gun at it, and then he's just going to start opening fire. But before he does so, he's going to take a piece of metal on the top of his Tommy gun and flip it up and kind of make a small little gesture over it with his hands, casting Hunter's Mark as a bonus action upon the creature.
All right.
Okay.
Which I have never played a ranger. Remind me what Hunter's Mark does. I know what it does, but it's escaping me at the moment.
If I make contact with him, it's a bonus action to cast. If I make contact on the target, then it does a bonus 1d6 damage.
That's right. That's right. I'm remembering Vax from Critical Role.
So it is a non-natural 20 to hit.
That absolutely hits.
So that is going to be 18 points of piercing damage. Oh, wait, the d6. So 21 points total.
Wow. Yeah, so your bullets just, you unleash from this automatic weapon and just riddle this thing with bullets. And in retaliation, you see as it's reeling back between its legs a gesture that's normally in the animal kingdom a sign of submission or fear. When something tucks tail, you see it begin to tuck its tail, and that's when you see the barbs on the end of its tail. And 3 of these barbs unleash right toward you inside the car. And because you are in the car, I'm going to grant you partial cover, so you're going to get a +2 to your AC. because it's shooting through open windows. So the first spike comes at you for a modified 19 to hit. The second spike is a 16. And the third spike is a 10. So 2 spikes sail in through the windows as a third. And I imagine the first one that hits as you're leaning through this window actually hits the frame right next to your head, sticking in the train car. And you just have this split second of whew as the next 2 spikes pierce into your body. And you are going to take 10 points of piercing damage from the first one and 5 points of piercing damage from the second one as they just into you.
And as these spikes kind of come, I think one of them probably comes through the window, and the other one actually just comes straight through the side of the train. Enough to actually stick in like the side where I had kind of like, stacked up next to the window for this cover. And he kind of staggers back, actually falling onto his butt kind of into one of the beds or the benches in the sleeper car. And he's banged up bad. So he's just going to kind of sit there for the moment.
And up above, at the same moment, at the exact same time this is happening, up above is hold on a second. Sorry. I just realized what happened. I turned my gain down. That's why I couldn't hear anything. Up above, there is a manticore looking at all of you, and its reaction is to curl its tail up above, and it's going to take, let's see, how many of you are up there? Gray and Hem, you guys have, for this round, also have partial cover, so you have the +2 to AC. So let me see what that is. So that's a 17 for him. A 16, no, a 14 for, okay. And then actually disadvantage at the 3 of you on the ground. So we're going to see who gets hit. As the first shot is going for Sawyer. And one of these spikes just thunk right into the top of the train car, right next to your shoulder, Sawyer, narrowly missing you. And the second one is going for Lord Warden, who is currently kneeling. And he takes a shot right in the right side of his chest from one of these massive spikes, and you see it knocks him back. His sniper rifle drops to the roof and begins to slowly start sliding towards the edge of the train car. And then the third spike also comes back at you, Sawyer. This one, it actually hits the top of the train car, and kind of you hear it go as it ricochets off into open space. And it's now your turn, Sawyer.
So Sawyer would she'd turn back to the wardens and just quickly, are we like in the middle of the train? Like how far away from the manticore are we?
About a half a car's length.
Okay. So she would kind of turn to the wardens and say, I would suggest that you get off this train car and let someone who knows what they're doing deal with this. But because I know you're survivalists and you won't, I just have to make one request that you don't shoot me. And then at that, she would kind of get up and run at her and try to hit it with her rapier that she takes out.
All
And
right.
that's a 13.
So to get to it, before you can actually get to it, you have to cross the gap.
Okay.
So if you're going to do that, I need you to make a acrobatics or an athletics check to cross the gap.
Okay. Sorry, it's on the other car. Sorry.
Yeah, it's on the
17.
second car. 17?
Okay. Yeah. For acrobatics.
So you clear the gap, no problem. But you misjudge the swaying of the car, and you just narrowly miss the manticore as you swipe at it with your rapier.
Okay.
Any other actions or movement?
Nope.
Hem. You guys, in fact, you guys would be able to see the manticore that is off to the, as you're moving forward to the right side of the car, and then the one that's up on top of the car, a full car's length away from you.
All right. I will look at the one that is currently shooting, or the one that currently is like flicking spikes around like you shouldn't be. And I'm just gonna raise up my revolver, having absolutely none of that, and I'm gonna try to insert a piece of metal into its skull.
So the one on top of the train, or the one that's airborne?
The one on top of the train.
Okay.
Drill a hole in its skull. Probably not at 14.
Sawyer, you hear the familiar sound, like an angry hornet, buzz past your ear, as you then hear the shot from behind you from Hem's pistol, his revolver, and you get sprayed with the manticore's blood as this bullet hits it. Go ahead and roll damage, Mike.
Got it.
I think Sawyer would look back thinking it's the wardens and just be like, hey, and then see it's him and just be like, oh, hey.
Hey, stop. So that'll be 13 piercing. And that's for the first attack. And as a fighter, I get a second attack. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. And that's a whole lot better. That is a 24 to hit.
Yeah, this time you clearly know you're going to strike it.
And then that's another 10 points of piercing damage as I just try and shoot it in center of mass.
Its head already reeling from the first strike. There's maybe, it doesn't do any actual damage, Sawyer, but you feel a couple scrapes as several rows of teeth are shattered by this bullet going through this manticore's mouth, and teeth just fly out of its face. Anything else you got up your sleeve there, Hem?
But you need more than that? Come on. Nope.
All right.
I'm just gonna probably just get down to one knee and to adopt a more stable firing platform.
All right. And that takes us to Gray.
All right, so Gray's like on the car, even behind Hem, if I remember right, because I climbed up the opposite ladder.
Correct.
So as I look down the train car and a half or so towards this manticore, quickly, Gray's eyes go towards the Lord and Lady Warden, and he's going to check where their eyes are, like if they're looking down towards the car or up at the Manicore or back towards them, trying to see like what they're looking at before he does something incredibly dumb.
The Lady Warden is looking at her husband, who is kind of dropped onto his back with a manticore tail spike in his chest. And she's just beginning to kind of scramble across the roof toward him after Sawyer kind of moved off of her. Her automatic rifle lies on the roof, and his sniper rifle is sliding ever closer to the edge of the train car.
All right, so as the lady's looking down over the Lord, Gray looks down towards the revolver at his belt, and then up at the Manicore, and just a grimace goes across his face. He pulls up his sleeves. The symbols on his arms begin to glow with an orange color, and his eyes change from blue to this reddish orange. And he begins saying these words under his breath. He holds his hands towards, and he draws a symbol in the air out of this smoke that seems to come out of nowhere. And then there's just these, it almost sounds still like a gunshot, just like a as these 3 streaks of flame streak towards this manticore with this like a startling accuracy. So I have the spell sniper feat, so it's gonna double my range of the spell, which should be well more than enough of 240 feet. It also ignores any cover and allies in the way. And that's going to be a 25, a modified 20, and a 19 for hits, or to hit. I'm assuming those will all hit?
Yeah.
All right, and that's going to be 11, 7 is 18, plus 5 is 23 fire damage from Scorching Ray. As these 3 streaks just burst out of this symbol in the sky, just raining down towards this creature, just blasts of fire. Just across.
And this is the one that was in front of Sawyer that Hem had shot?
Correct.
So, Gray, tell us what Sawyer sees as your illegal spell ends this manticore that is right in front of her.
Yeah,
it's not going to hurt her, but
yeah. As the bullet goes through its mouth from Hem's shot, like its head roars back, and there's just like a 3 in a row, just a quick like as these like almost beams of fire just like hit its chest and then its neck, and just these patches of soot and smoke just begin just going off of it. I imagine like the front of its body even almost like catches fire, not completely, but you can see just smoldering patches of like fur and flesh just like cover this thing's body as like the flame begins to work its way inside of its form and just begins scorching away at anything it touches.
And there's a brief rending sound of talons on the steel roof of the train car as this thing's form collapses and it begins to slide sideways as its rear end and tail kind of drift off the side, and its whole form just kind of tumbles off into open air, bouncing off of the edge of the bridge and splashing 30 feet below into the turbulent ocean.
And then half hoping to honestly check on them and half hoping to distract them and hope they didn't see, Gray's going to call out from the car behind, "Lady, is the Lord okay?" And I'm going to begin attempting to move across the car that I'm on onto the car that Hem and the Warden are on.
Give me a athletics check or a dex check, whichever one you want to do.
We'll go with with Dex here. That's going to be a 22.
Yeah,
total.
you have no problem crossing between the two cars. She's hysterical. She's just screaming hysterically, trying to get to him. She's just gotten to him right now, and she looks like she's got one hand on this spike, and these spikes are barbed, and you can see that her hand is bleeding as she's attempting to yank this spike out of his chest.
It's okay. We can help him together. And then he's gonna like pull his sleeves down before anybody looks up at him. And that'll be the end of his turn.
And then that's going to take us back to Fitz down inside.
So as he's kind of staggered back and sat down on this bench, kind of assessing these fairly grievous wounds, he kind of realizes that there's still work that needs to be done. You know, one of these things, as far as he knows, only one of these things at least is still pressing the attack. And he's going to go back to the window. Does the creature look like it might disengage and leave, or does it look like it is intending to remain?
It seems to be kind of the way it's flapping its wings, and you can see it's moving kind of sideways, keeping pace with the train, and you can see blood spraying out from the bullet wounds that you gave it. But you see its gaze flicking upward and back at you and upward. If anything, it seems indecisive.
He's kind of muttering to himself. He says, better just go on. Just get out of here. Come on. I don't want to have to kill you. But you're going to make me. You better get. And he's going to fire again. $24 to hit.
Definitely a hit.
Okay. Sorry, the mute wasn't working. Okay, let's see. 13, 16, and 19 points of damage.
Oh. All of you above, except maybe Gray, who's kind of focused on the wardens and the hysterical lady warden, hear the shots from below. And Fitz, what does it look like as this hovering manticore as your next volley of shots takes it out?
When it looks like the creature has not made up its mind whether or not to leave them be, he decides that this is just going to be the only course of action that he has. And he aims for a mercy shot. And he actually just puts this burst straight into this thing's skull. And there's probably not a lot left of it, being on the receiving end of a Tommy gun. And then it just spirals downward and disappears in a plume of splash of water.
And with that, the two manticores have been stopped. Lieutenant Gray has reached the hysterical Lady Warden, who is attempting to withdraw the barbed tail spike from Lord Warden's chest. And we're going to take a quick bio break. Let's try to get back in the next 3 or 4 minutes. And we'll continue with this next action phase, because I'm not about to let up. Or am I? We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hello, everybody out there who may be watching. I always love D&D games that have different settings that aren't just, normal fantasy, sword and sorcery. It's always a lot of fun to see different elements worked into them. It's a good game so far.
All right.
Having a blast so far, Jake, as always.
Thanks to everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching along. Hope you guys are enjoying the game. Sorry, I had to take a cheese break. Man, I totally could play a game like this. Just RPing and letting things unfold organically. That whole opening thing, I didn't want to pull out of the RP. But we only have so many hours we can play.
Yeah, we easily could have made that train scene go for another 2 hours easy and just not even bat an eye.
The whole game is nothing but socializing in the bar car and the train ride. Man, guns in D&D are devastating.
Yeah, they're really dang strong.
Yeah. Effectively each bullet that I'm shooting out of my Tommy gun, because each one of those is just a single shot, technically speaking. Each one of those was effectively stronger than shooting a greatsword.
That's crazy. Excuse me. And I think, other than Lord Warden, I think Corporal Fitz was the only other one that got hit. He got hit with 2 of those spiked barbs, which should point out they're still in you. They're not doing any poison or anything, but they're barbed spikes, not spiked barbs. Barbed spikes that are all up in you.
I definitely plan on addressing it. Next moment we've got.
So, is everybody back? Excuse me. You ready, Jeff?
Yep, all set.
Megan, ready to go?
Yep.
So, we're going to do a cinematic jump cut inside the bar car as Corporal Hem and Lieutenant Gray clear a table and put the bleeding form of Lord Warden on one of the tables. As people begin gathering around, some people are moving further away. Earl Sawyer, whether voluntarily or not, Lady Warden is kind of clinging to you, her hands all messed up, bleeding from the attempting to pull the barb spike out of her husband's chest. And right around this same time, I imagine Corporal Fitz wounded, bleeding, staggering into the bar car as well. It's a scene of complete and total chaos as this couple days of leisurely train ride has just gone to hell. Corporal Fitz, what are you doing as you stagger in and you see, you had no idea even of the action that was taking place on the rooftop. But as you stagger into the bar car, what are you thinking as you see this scene and you've got these two barbs, these two spikes sticking out of you?
As he kind of staggers in, there's only maybe 2 or 3 inches of each of these barbs now sticking out of him, where he's kind of broken them off about as close as he could manage to his body to make passing through the narrow passages of the train cars a little easier. And as he kind of staggers into the bar car and sees that one of the charges that they've been given is wounded as well, he kind of sighs, realizing that his medical situation is going to have to wait. And he kind of moves over and kind of nudges some people out of the way. Stand aside, move out of the way. Get me that bottle right there. And he points to one of the bottles of high proof alcohol. And he kind of looks around. He sees one of the tables. He says, "Get me some of them plants right there." No, not that one. The next table over. Bring that and that flower right there. Bring here. And as he's doing that, he starts putting it in his mouth and chewing up the leaves and the flower. And he starts stuffing it down into this bottle of alcohol, where he puts his thumb over the top and just starts shaking. And then he uncovers it and he begins to pour it directly on the wound of this guy. Did he still have the barb in him?
Lieutenant Gray, does he still have the barb in him?
Gray definitely would have waited until we got him in and situated before he pulled it out. So unless the lord or lady has managed to get it out, he would have waited to prevent excess bleeding.
So yeah, the barb is still in.
And I think maybe the barb is actually all the way through. Oh no, you said it's in his chest, huh? Man.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I think maybe the barb is already all the way through. And he is going to kind of check this wound to see if he's actually spitting up blood, to see if maybe his lungs are punctured.
Give me a medicine check.
That's a 5 total.
While you're experienced in maybe dealing with battlefield injuries from blade and bullet, you've never seen anything quite like this, and all you can tell is this barb has embedded itself through his chest on the right hand side, and you can see that it's actually piercing out the backside. There's probably about an inch sticking out of his back and a good 4 or 5 inches sticking out of his front. But beyond that, you can't make any sound assessment of his condition.
Okay.
Anybody else that's right there and wants to could make additional medicine check to try to make an assessment.
I mean, I'll give it a shot, but I wouldn't know very much on medicine. I know how to cause the injuries, not really fix them up.
Yeah, so I mean, you have limited basic first aid. None of you is if anybody is trained for combat life saving. The closest would probably be Fitz, and he just has not seen a wound like this. What do any of you want to try to do to help the Lord Warden?
Come on, there has to be a doctor here somewhere. Someone. And she would kind of look around. Are the people kind of in the car, or are they like coming in out of curiosity, looking in, or have they left, or is it only us?
Most people, there's a few people that are close by looking. Dictus Raphael Hermaeus Mon Carpathius III is with almost as if he's watching entertainment, is just sitting on with a drink in hand. And a couple others are watching. You hear, as you say this, you see some of the crowd begin to part a little bit as something almost pushed them out of the way. You all see as the silver-templed halfling woman, the Lady Winter Halstead, makes her way forward as she looks and she, of humility or embarrassment, drags a chair closer so that she can climb up on it and lean over the table. And she says in a deeper voice than perhaps you would have expected from such a small woman, "You're a wise choice, Corporal. Feel remedy. If you look, you can already see that it is beginning to clot the blood around the wound, preventing further bleeding, as I'm certain that was your intention.
Yes, ma'am.
Though I suspect you have never seen a sucking wound such as this one, note the frothiness in the blood around the barb. His lung has collapsed." And she begins making more and more medical assessments. She surprisingly are a overwear that was at the table, and she begins barking orders and making a few movements, her hand moving very deftly as she begins doing various medical procedures on him. And then places a napkin, a linen napkin. She balls it up. She actually hands it to you, Fitz. "Place this in the Lord's mouth now."
Yeah, he moves up to him and kind of looks at him with a little bit of sympathy, and he says, "You're gonna want to bite down on this. It's gonna hurt."
She turns to you, Sawyer, and indicates the Lady Warden, who is clinging to, still hysterical. "Do not let her look, and for God's sake, shut her up."
Sawyer would kind of look very disappointed that she couldn't help in some other way instead of having to calm this rich, entitled woman down. But she would say, come this way, Lady Warden. Let us go look at this over here. And she would lead her.
She, as soon as the lady turns away and Fitz puts the linen napkin into the warden's mouth, She glances at Lieutenant Gray and at Corporal Hem, and she just says, "Hold him. I'm going to need this." And with a deftness that surprises you, perhaps, Corporal Hem, she flips your pistol out of your revolver out of its holster and kind of twirls it in her hand so that she's holding it with the butt stock, gripping it by the barrel and the revolver portion. And just quickly, she hammers down on the spike. And then she does it again. And then with a final third one, slams it as the spike completely. She places her hands over the wound. And she begins barking orders to different people around to gather some bed linen and other things for bandages. Lieutenant Gray, be a perception check or an arcana check.
Let's go with arcana, and that is going to be a 10 on the die for a 17.
It's so subtle that you doubt anybody but yourself would even have noticed it. As she's barking orders, her hand is pressed firmly over the wound. You see with her middle finger that her middle finger seems to be tracing a small sigil in the blood. And you see the faintest glow. The wound begins to slightly stitch itself below her hand. You guys are, I'm coming in choppy. Give me a second. This is not supposed to happen. I have mega internet.
Yeah, I believe you're broadcasting from the Matrix, aren't you? Isn't that was the impression I got.
All right. Could you guys at least hear me? Am I still chopping?
It's not as bad now.
Yeah, that's better.
Let's see. Yeah, I dropped my bandwidth a little bit. I'm going to drop it down one more. No, it won't. That's weird. It won't let me go to low. There we go. Is that her? All right. So, yeah, Lieutenant Gray, you notice that she basically casts healing magic, distracting everybody else. The wound begins to stitch itself. She quickly grabs bandages to cover up the wound. And then quickly has him bandaged up. Do you say anything? Do you react in any way to this, Gray?
As he's watching, his eyes just on this this Lord as she traces the symbol, kind of using the cover and distraction of people helping to bandage the wound up as cover. And he doesn't say anything. He doesn't act intentionally, but he just like runs one of his hands like down the other arm where the symbols on his own arm are beneath his sleeves at the moment, and just can't help but run a hand alongside them and just kind of look with curiosity, but he doesn't actually respond verbally or make any attempted action.
And as the commotion begins to die down, Otumi Wanaka finds his way to your sides as he says, "Oh, this is most unfortunate, as we are not even to the island yet, and already the excitement, well, the dangers have begun. It's most unfortunate, but we should be arriving at the encampment shortly. The encampment should have more suitable facilities that we can deal with this in a proper way. And as well, you, Corporal, are you okay? You look a bit flush.
And I think about that time, Fitzgerald's kind of helped, finish things up, the bandaging up of the Lord's wounds, and he almost doesn't even hear the question, and he kind of just, yeah, I took a couple hits, and then I think he just passes out. He just falls straight back, maybe breaking a chair with his fall.
I would try, if I see him fall, I would try and rush to grab him, keep him from hitting the ground.
Make a dex check.
And that is a 16.
You're able to catch him before he hits the ground.
I'll probably try and find a table laying down on and then I'll start checking him over for grievous injuries, if any.
Yeah, he's in pretty bad shape with you see two broken off manticore spikes sticking out of his shoulder and lower chest.
Okay. I'll probably call that doctor over again. See if I can maybe even, like, if they're just slivers, or if they're like big enough that I can kind of maybe try and corkscrew them out. Just kind of like twist them as I'm pulling out. Maybe that's better. I don't know, but
the doctor seems to be preoccupied. If you want to try corkscrewing them, well, give me a medicine check.
Would I be able to help him with this? Just use like a help action for advantage, just kind of trying to help guide him, like steady the body and the hand. Just like, no, pull this way. The barb is sticking in here.
Absolutely.
Cool. So what do I add to that again?
It's
help
medicine
is with advantage.
Yeah, help is with advantage. Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. So that is a 17 on the die plus my medicine, which is 2, so 19.
I'm sorry, Megan. Megan just got me with that. She's imagining the scene from Ghost with the clay. So now I picture Lieutenant Gray reaching around your sides and guiding your hands.
Instead of clay, it's like red pulpy flesh, and we're trying to like pull it out, and no,
but it works. Whatever it looks like, it works. As you are able to corkscrew the manticore barbs out, and apparently we're going to have to send Jeff a link to that scene in Ghost.
Oh, Jeff. Oh, Jeff. You kids. You darn kids.
So you are no longer affected by the barbs. You don't lose any more hit points or anything like that. But you don't gain any without the addition of healing. I will say, as it's going to take just a couple hours for you to arrive. You're actually just a little over an hour from what Atume Wanaka tells you from arriving at the encampment, that you can take a short rest and apply any short rest type healing, such as hit dice. as the train begins to slow, would you guys have stayed in the bar car, or would you have moved elsewhere in the train? Lieutenant Gray, what would you have done to corral the people or take control after this harrowing experience?
Yeah, I imagine that Lieutenant Gray would have started to kind of first push the people out of the car that they were in with all the like the blood and injuries to just to keep that out of sight and as out of mind as best as he could. And then whoever he could get a hold of would kind of gather them into one of the cars and like explain what had happened, that the Lord and Lady Warden were firing out towards the island, and that it seems to have attracted the attention of some of the flying creatures that then attacked the train, and that the threat has been contained and that everybody should be safe for the rest of the way to the island. Just kind of do his best to reassure people that what happened was a crazy incident brought on by something that was not under their control.
Give me a persuasion check.
Perfect. My specialty. Yeah, even more perfect. That's a 5 on the die, so a 4 total.
So, as you're kind of explaining everything, it barely seems like people are listening to you. There actually even seems to be some of the nobles aren't surprised by this behavior. You even see that Sir Benedictus Raphael Hermaeus Morton Carpathius III and Professor Damien Van Hoosel exchange a couple gold pieces as there's a slight muttering of, "I told you he wouldn't die before we got to the island." And but yeah, for the most part, nobody really seems to give a shit what you're saying.
Yeah, and kind of picking up on the room vibe. Eventually, Lieutenant Gray will just like, forget it, and like head back further back towards the and on the train to check up and make sure that Fitz is not doing too badly and that he's patched himself up well enough.
And as the train begins to slow, and you actually can hear from outside the as it slows to a stop, you can see in the evening, late afternoon, it's actually probably around getting close to 5 now. This time of year, there's still a good 3-4 hours of daylight. You can see that you are at a train platform, nowhere near as big or accommodating as the one in Song's Reach.
Did he just cut out for everyone?
Okay, yeah.
Song's Reach was the last thing I heard him say.
Yeah. So, hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying it. This is all based on... I'm just going to wait for Jake. Jake will come back.
Go for it.
Nope. Jake's back.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Sorry about that. My new high-speed internet. Apparently, one of the wired connection failed. I'm on 5G, signal strong right now. Let me just check this real quick and make sure it's not going to drop again. What was the last thing you guys heard?
Songs reach.
Songs reach.
And then something about us winning the whole planet. Something like that.
Yep. And then you won. The end. Happily ever after.
We won the D&D, folks.
I'm just going to check this real quick before we go on. I know that we're not going to get dropped right away.
I think that Sawyer would, like, as soon as she saw that Mr. Warden was, stable and doing okay and there wasn't any more, gushing wounds, she would all but push Mrs. Warden back towards all the people and so that she doesn't have to comfort her anymore.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
jeez. Good Lord. All right, I'm going to try. We'll see if we can continue on. There is a slight possibility that I lose my signal altogether. And I don't know if I can recover it if it goes down again, because I know the router has a complicated reboot. So just be prepared for that. I will message you guys.
That's all good. If worst case scenario, we'll have a part 2 where you throw, like, I don't know, a Tarrasque and like 7 dragons, and it's like, yeah, man,
you're reading my notes.
Well, you put your camera down during the break. I saw it all. All right. I think it was like 2d6 random Tarrasques or something.
Right. So what happened? What I had said was the region that the station that you've pulled into is nowhere near.
Oh no.
Well.
Oh dear. All right. Well, while Jake works his magic, let me just say that this setting, the Ironhead Chronicles, is completely free. I posted it up on the Absolute Tabletop channel, or excuse me, the Absolute Tabletop Facebook page. So if you ever want it, or if you follow me on Twitter, you can get it anytime you like. I'm sharing my setting with everyone for several reasons. One, I just think it's great. I just love the idea of, this Prohibition era, post-war 1920s with magical speakeasies and crazy different types of magic and crime families and, mobs and everything else, along with, magic and dragons and, all manner of fantastical creatures. I just think the setting is just really great, and it's not, not to blow sunshine up my backside, but I'm just very excited about it. And also, the reason why I just want to give it away is that, if someone is willing to spend 3 hours with 4 to 6 of their friends playing something that I created, that's a real super win in my book, and I feel pretty flattered. So that's why I encourage anyone, if anyone ever wants to play or run a game or anything else, I can be found on Absolute Tabletop. You can message me, ask me questions. I'm going to keep updating that setting info because there's a lot of things that I realize now that I failed to omit, or I omitted, so I should probably add some stuff in. So I'm looking forward to continuously updating it and creating something really awesome that everyone can enjoy. And now the handsome man known as Jake is back.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I apologize. I apologize to the viewers. Apparently, Austin Internet has proven that it has the same types of problems. I probably just need to look at my settings on my router. But I'm getting like major spikes and lags as I'm trying to run speed test. So I don't want to try limping through this. So I feel like narratively we hit a good breaking point. And I will try the daunting task of trying to schedule part 2 with you guys as soon as we can get it up. Phrasing. So, all right. So we're going to call it right now that you guys made it to the encampment on the Hanging Isles, and we're going to pick up where we left off there, and I will make sure that I have restarted my router before we do part 2. So thank you guys for being accommodating. I'm really sorry this happened. As far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't have happened. So I'm going to be running diagnostics and doing all that good stuff before I stream again. But I hope you guys have all been having fun so far. I know I have. Like we said at the break and earlier, I could have gone on and on just RPing the train ride. So, yeah, I just want to thank Megan, Dice on Ice, Jeff from Encounter Balance, Jeremy Erasmus Expeditions, and of course Mike the Piper, who's setting the Ironhead Chronicles and Valos that we've been playing in. And I will coordinate with these guys, and we will get a part 2 up as soon as we can in the coming weeks, and continue and conclude this. So thank you, everybody. Sorry for the abrupt ending, but I will leave you with the usual metadata.